engaging them at the practitioner level, and bringing them the kind of tools, simple but powerful tools that we can, that help them map what they're doing, overlay it on top so they can see how these fit together, so that they can change the way they do business by reconvening themselves to do what Caney and Kramer call creating mutually reinforcing activities. Because that's the only way we're going to have a collective impact in our communities so that we can change the odds for young people. And the last thing that I will say in my remaining 2 minutes is that about 30 years ago, when I went off to, well, however old I am, more than 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I went off to college, I went off as at that point, as a skinny black kid from DC who went to the DC public schools, raised in a low-income single-parent family because my dad had died when I was 7. And I went off to Oberlin College because I picked it out of the Barron's College Guide and got a scholarship. And I got on the bus with my trunk and I went to Oberlin and I got off the bus. And I would say that probably 4 or 5 times in the first 2 weeks of being there, as I introduced myself and said who I was, people would say, well, wow, you're awfully normal. I mean, really. And again, it's one of those things like you say you hate teenagers. People would just say to me, well, you're so well-adjusted, or you're so normal, or you talk well, or, just the amazing things that people would say to you. And I started thinking about that, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and it took me about 5 or 6 years to realize that if I give you that description of my demographics, you have an assumption that I'm not going to be well prepared. That, you have an assumption, and I counter that assumption. And so, but when I thought about my life, I didn't feel like I was the exception. I didn't feel like I had beaten the odds. And this hit me when I was working for the Children's Defense Fund, and Marion Wright Edelman made up the Beat the Odds Award. And as much as I love the idea of us standing up and acknowledging the lives of a few young people who have overcome extreme adversity, what we know from resilience is that those young people probably had help overcoming extreme adversity, and that they helped themselves, really, the resilience research, by being good-looking, by being having those social skills so that they were easier to work with, that they had something about them that allowed them to be resilient. But this can't be about us sitting back and selecting a few young people to beat the odds and then celebrating their success. This has to be about us fundamentally changing the way we do business so that we can change the odds for young people, even if they're grumpy and disrespectful and all those things that we say we don't like in teenagers. It's still our job to change the odds for them so that we can reclaim futures. Thank you.